Hey everyone, and welcome. So, have you ever really stopped to think about what powers life? I mean, not just food or sunlight, but what's the actual currency that every single living cell uses to build things, to move, to just stay alive? Well, today we're going to dive deep into that amazing world of cellular energy. So, here's this huge puzzle, right? The entire universe, as a whole, is constantly moving toward a state of disorder, a concept we call entropy. It loves chaos. And yet, life is this incredible island of intricate order. A single cell is way more organized than a swirling cloud of cosmic dust. So how on earth does life pull this off? How does it create order in a universe that's always trying to fall apart? The secret, it turns out, is all in how it manages energy. To really wrap our heads around life's energy strategy, we've got to start with the fundamental rules of the universe itself. These are the laws of thermodynamics. And here's the thing, life doesn't get to break these rules. Instead, it has become an absolute master at working within them. Okay, rule number one. Energy is a cosmic constant. You can't just make it out of thin air, and you can't make it disappear. All you can do is change its form. Think about it. The sun's light energy gets turned into chemical energy by a plant. Then an animal eats that plant and turns that chemical energy into the kinetic energy of motion. The form changes, but the total amount of energy in the system stays exactly the same. And then there's the second law, which is basically the universe's no free lunch rule. It says that no energy conversion is ever 100% efficient. Every single time energy changes form, a little bit of it escapes as useless heat. And that heat just adds to the overall chaos, the entropy of the universe. So how does life build order? By constantly pulling in fresh energy from its surroundings, it maintains its own little local bubble of order, even as the universe as a whole gets messier. Now, this diagram here visualizes that second law perfectly. Take a look. Free energy is just a fancy term for the good stuff, the portion of energy that's actually available to do useful work, like building a molecule. And you can see that with every single energy transfer, the amount of that usable free energy gets smaller, while the unusable energy, the stuff that becomes entropy, grows. The entire game of life is to grab as much of that free energy as possible before it just dissipates away. So how does a tiny cell actually manage this constant flow of energy? Well, it all comes down to chemical reactions. The whole operation of life is just this constant, humming symphony of chemical reactions that we call metabolism. Yeah, metabolism isn't just about how fast you burn calories. It's the absolute engine room of the cell. It's where molecules are being built up, broken down, and rearranged nonstop. It is the chemical foundation for literally everything a cell does. And this engine, it basically has two main modes. Think of catabolic reactions as the demolition crew. They take big, complex molecules, like the food we eat, and break them down into smaller, simpler pieces, which releases a bunch of energy. Then you have anabolic reactions. They're the construction crew, using up energy to build big, complex molecules from simple little building blocks. And this slide illustrates the energy perfectly. On the left, that exergonic reaction, that's our demolition crew, catabolism. It's like a ball rolling downhill. It happens spontaneously and releases energy. But on the right, the endergonic reaction, that's our construction crew, anabolism. That ball isn't going uphill by itself. It needs a push. So the million-dollar question is, where does that push come from? Well, that question right there brings us to the absolute hero of this whole story, the one molecule that so elegantly connects the energy-releasing reactions with the energy-requiring ones. Everybody meet ATP. You can think of ATP as the cell's rechargeable battery. Or maybe even better, think of it as cash. When your cells break down food, they don't just let all that energy go. They use it to charge up these little ATP molecules. Then, anytime, anywhere in the cell that work needs to be done, like building a protein or making a muscle move, the cell just spends an ATP. And the magic of ATP is all in its structure. You see those three phosphate groups all crammed together at the end? They're all negatively charged, so they're repelling each other like crazy. It's like holding three powerful magnets together with the same poles facing each other. That last bond is like a tightly coiled spring, just packed with potential energy. And when the cell breaks that bond, bam, all that useful energy is released. So this cycle you see here, this is the whole game. It's happening constantly. Energy from breaking down food is used to slap that third phosphate back onto a molecule of ADP, recharging it into a full ATP. That energized ATP then zooms off to wherever it's needed, pops off its phosphate to power some kind of work, and turns back into ADP, ready to be recharged all over again. It's an unbelievably fast and continuous flow of energy. Okay, so we've got our power source, ATP. We should be good to go, right? Well, there's another pretty big problem. Most of the chemical reactions that life depends on, even the ones that release energy, are naturally incredibly slow. Like, without some help, they could take hundreds, even thousands of years. So how does life happen in a split second? The reason is this thing called activation energy. The best way to think about it is like a big hill you have to climb before you can enjoy the ride down the slide on the other side. Every single reaction needs an initial push of energy just to get started. And for most of the reactions inside a cell, that hill is absolutely massive. And the cell's solution to this problem is just brilliant. It uses enzymes. Enzymes are biological catalysts. You can think of them as molecular matchmakers. They grab onto the reactants, hold them in just the right way to make the reaction happen, and then let go, completely unchanged and ready for the next one.
And this graph right here, this is the big aha moment. Just look at the difference. The enzyme doesn't change how much energy you start or end with. The total energy released is exactly the same. All it does is dramatically lower that activation energy hill. It basically builds a tunnel through the mountain, allowing reactions to happen millions of times faster than they ever could on their own.
And they are incredibly specific. They're total specialists. Each enzyme has this uniquely shaped little pocket called an active site, and only one specific molecule, its substrate, can fit in there perfectly. Once it binds, the enzyme does its magic, helps the reaction happen, and then releases the finished product, immediately ready for the next customer in line. All right, so now we have an unbelievably powerful and fast system. But an engine that powerful running without any brakes or controls, that's just dangerous. The cell can't have all these reactions firing off at full blast all the time. It needs exquisite, precision control. And one of the key ways that cells manage all this is by using molecules that can inhibit or slow down their enzymes. This gives the cell the ability to fine-tune everything, turning different metabolic pathways on or off exactly when they're needed. And there are a couple of main strategies for this. Over on the left, you've got a competitive inhibitor. It's basically an imposter molecule that looks enough like the real substrate to get into the active site and just block it. It's a competition for the parking spot. But on the right, you have a non-competitive inhibitor. This one's a little sneakier. It binds to a totally different spot on the enzyme and, in doing so, changes the enzyme's overall shape so the active site just doesn't work anymore. Now, cells use this in a super clever system called feedback inhibition. Check this out. In a long chain of reactions, the final end product of that chain actually acts as an inhibitor for the very first enzyme way back at the beginning of the line. It's a perfect supply and demand system. As soon as you have enough of the product itself goes and shuts down its own assembly line. How smart is that? And it's also really important to remember that these little enzyme machines are pretty fussy. They only work under very specific conditions. Things like temperature and pH have a huge effect on them. I mean, this is why a high fever is so dangerous. It can heat up the crucial enzymes in your body, causing them to lose their shape and stop working. Of course, the good news is it does the exact same thing to the enzymes inside any bacteria that are making you sick. So there you have it. To create order from universal chaos, life captures energy, it stores that energy in the universal currency of ATP, and then it uses these amazing little enzyme machines to precisely control when and where that energy gets spent. It's just this beautiful, elegant cascade of solutions, all the way from the laws of physics down to a single molecule. It really makes you wonder, what other incredible microscopic engines are out there, powering the world all around us, just waiting for us to discover them?